Welcome to the NDIS Property Australia podcast. Before starting this episode, we need to provide a general disclaimer. Information contained in this podcast is general in nature only. It does not take into account the objectives, financial situation, or needs of any particular person. You need to consider your financial situation and needs before making any decisions based on the information in this podcast. And you should consider seeking independent and professional advice for your personal circumstances. All right, let's begin.
Hi everyone, I hope everyone's doing all right. I'm Erin and I'm one of the staff at NDIS Property Australia. I'm here today with Matt from the office and we're going to do a special episode about stock supply for land around Australia for the NDIS. Tell us a bit about yourself, Matt.
Yeah, so my name's Matthew. I'm one of our investor relationships managers here at NDIS Property Australia. So it's my job to handle customer inquiries and working with investors to find the right NDIS property to meet their needs and their circumstances. So just a quick update to where we're at in terms of the current stock and pipeline expected for the coming months. It's been an incredible, tough start to the year as stock levels remain extremely tight and registrations have been blown out further than expected, which is leading to obviously longer completion times. So this is relevant to all stock all around Australia, both NDIS and non-NDIS stock for investors.
So what do you think some of the causes of tight stock levels and the blowing out of registrations and everything like that have been?
So I think the building industry is still very challenged with the price rises for both land prices and construction costs. We've seen this easing compared to last year. I feel like the end of last year, there was presented particular difficulties and unforeseen price rises.
Do you think that would be in terms of COVID and everything?
Absolutely. Yep. So developers, I feel like, are still in favor of selling to owner-occupiers. And we believe this will continue to be as it is at the moment for the immediate future and in the coming, say, 3 to 6 months before we start to see kind of more investors returning and more allocations available in terms of land for investors.
Yeah.
So our view is that around May and June, we might see a decline in home buyers, particularly people, say, if you're investing in Queensland, who might be investing up north or buying a new house if they're relocating due to COVID. So in that, when that occurs, there'll be obviously more land and more choice available and larger allocations for investors.
Where do you see the most, for lack of a better word, popular areas would be for investing?
Yeah, at the moment, I'd say Townsville, Mackay, Toowoomba, Melbourne and Perth all stand out to me as being very hot markets for NDIS properties. But yeah, in the case that you can't find land in these areas or just where you do want to invest, my suggestion is to try to secure land directly from land developers or look for blocks of land that are in the marketplace in the areas that you're hoping to invest in for the NDIS. And obviously you can bring that land over to us and we can package up an SDA home that suits the demand in that area and the block itself, what can be built on that block. So we've had over 100 EOIs over the last, that's an expression of interest for anyone who's wondering out there. Over the last 12 months, we've had about 100 expression of interests on behalf of our clients for investors. And about 65% of them have actually gone down that path of eventually building a house on a block that they had, building an NDIS house. So that is a very viable strategy to enter the NDIS property market. And another option also to consider is the knockdown rebuild approach.
Just to clarify, what is exactly the knockdown rebuild approach?
So that's essentially where you'd have a block of land with maybe an existing old house on it, and you'd simply knock it down and you'd build a new NDIS property which delivers far superior incomes. So that would be the goal there. And that's an effective means to build an SDA property in a high demand area, particularly if there's a low supply of land in that area. Yeah. And being able to choose the right location without limits on land releases, because the land release times and registrations have been blowing out, as Erin mentioned earlier. So being able to do that, obviously, that can give you some kind of first mover advantage and allows you to enter the market.
Yeah, because what is the current registration time? It's 3 to 6
So it would be about 3 to 6 months.
Yeah.
And then BA for another month.
Yeah.
And that's time kind of that's spent even outside of the build time can be long for a lot of investors.
So how should investors go about, or like what would be their best route for like registering and securing land?
So I would say that generally it would be best to register with the developer and to go on a waiting list for land lots and to purchase, because most of our builders will have land which becomes available. So obviously in new estates, that sort of thing, and you can obviously be ahead of the game and find out exactly when that land becomes available. So we do have some stock in some regional areas, like in Queensland and Victoria, which we would suggest that potential buyers have a look at, because there'll be a lot of regional opportunities coming up soon, and particularly in New South Wales and Victoria. In a month or so, I feel like, given the current market, there'll be a lot of opportunities for new land in those areas.
Do you mean like in the current market, being that those areas are growing, they're expanding, like they're becoming more?
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. Yep. So the growth in those areas is enormous, and it's showing no signs of slowing at this point. So there's a lot of infrastructure development, there's employment, there's obviously lifestyle options are coming into those areas, and there's affordability, which are obviously key factors in those areas which are driving growth. So these all sound extremely good, but they're good from a non-NDIS perspective as well. So this is a good indicator, obviously, to a property investor in terms of potential growth for these areas and potential opportunities for NDIS investments.
So in terms of, we obviously touched on like the current stock and everything and how there's a lot of restrictions going on. With more and more people moving from places like Sydney and Melbourne and like more places down the southern side of Australia, they're moving up to Queensland. What do you think this would say, like, what do you think this means for the property market in Queensland?
As I touched on before, there's just, obviously there's going to be a housing shortage, and it's real and it's here to stay. And our population is growing faster due to, obviously, we're not building as fast as we were pre-COVID. There's going to be shortages, and where our population is growing at this stage faster than we can develop property. So with interstate migration being the main reason to date, and it's only kind of the property market in Queensland, it's looking like it's prepped for a prolonged shortage of housing for many years to come.
Yeah, okay.
So coupled with obviously international migration, which is set to, obviously start up again soon, and student visas, the fundamentals, I suppose, for investing in both the NDIS and the regular property market in Queensland have never been better.
Actually, I'm pretty sure they're opening up the borders to international students again starting from this semester, which is next week. Semester 1 starts next week. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so a lot of international people are definitely going to be coming back. Thanks, Matt. It was a very detailed summary of, the state of play with SDA housing opportunities and where we are and what we're working on in the office. Just remember that we are continually working on 2 or 3 new episodes of our podcast every week, so be sure to tune in and listen. I think we're releasing 1 every week or something like that. And we're going to have different speakers, different topics. And if any of our listeners would like us to cover like a particular topic that maybe we haven't touched on, or you're just wanting more information on, we'd be keen to hear that in your feedback so we can make this podcast more interesting, more engaging for everyone to listen to.
Awesome. Thanks, Erin.
Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed this episode. Please make sure that you are subscribed and following us so that you can keep in the loop with all of our upcoming episodes. We would really appreciate it if you could leave us a 5-star rating, a written review, and to share this episode with those that can benefit. Until next time, catch you on the next episode.